Hi! It's freezing here today. As you can see, many layers. And freezing means it's really cold. But I'm not complaining. I actually like winter. I don't know about you, but I think it's cozy to drink a hot cup of tea sitting by the wood stove. I don't know if you have one in your house, but I do here. And I think it's cozy. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about the weather. As I've said before, I'm going to share English tips and some parts of my personal journey learning English with you. And while I was recording that first video, I kept thinking of another situation that made me feel out of my comfort zone. So let me explain first. Doing this, this that I'm doing right now, recording myself and opening a YouTube channel, I consider this to be out of my comfort zone. Maybe you don't feel this way, but I do. Out of my comfort zone. But I think it's a good thing. I think that we only actually grow when we feel scared. The situation is different, so we have to push ourselves to figure out the situation and we grow. At least that's what I believe. So I think scary is good. But of course, scary is scary, so out of our comfort zones. And recording that video yesterday made me think of the first time that I traveled overseas. And I'm going to share a little bit about this experience with you now. So this is a story about my trip to Japan when I was 16 years old. So that it makes more sense, let me tell you. I worked in the fashion industry for 10 years. So this opportunity presented itself to me when I was 16. So yes, very young. But it was an amazing opportunity. Just think about it. I was a girl, a shy girl, that dreamed about seeing the world. And I was born and raised in a very small town in the south of Brazil. So it seemed like a dream that was far away. So when I had that opportunity, I grabbed it and I said, yes, I'm going to do it. Of course, it felt extremely scary because I would be traveling to a country that is, right? It was at the time, but it still is, on the other side of the world. And I had been studying English for a while. So I knew how to speak and I could understand people, but I wasn't confident enough to have a conversation because I didn't practice every day. So I think that whenever we are learning something new, the only way to actually become confident when we are doing it is to practice, right? So during that situation, I was forced to practice. There was no other option because otherwise how would I communicate with other people? So the whole thing was completely out of my comfort zone. Remember? That's why I told you that the video reminded me of the situation because I had never been inside a plane. I had never even been to an airport. Imagine going to a different country. Everything was new. But it was extremely exciting. I was over the moon. I was happy, I was scared, I was feeling all the emotions at the same time. So the biggest challenge was actually to communicate. Because remember I told you, I could speak, I could understand, but if you actually want to have a conversation, you have to talk. So you have to speak. That was the issue I was having because I was shy, as I told you. So, when I arrived in Japan, I'm not even going to talk about the trip itself because being on the plane and having to find the next gate when I was in my layover, that was a challenge. But when I arrived in Japan, and also, this is a very important point, remember, this was 2010? Yes, 2010. So I did not have a smartphone, I did not have a computer, I did not have anything that I could translate at that moment and show it to someone and ask, what does it mean? Or can you help me? You know, we have it much easier these days, because if you have a cell phone with you, you can use Google Translator or any other translator that you prefer, and things are easier. At that time, I couldn't do it. So when I arrived in Japan, I had a list of things that I should do. So I should buy a bus ticket. I had the information saying to where I was going, because someone from my company was going to pick me up. So I had to buy the bus ticket, and I was supposed to make a phone call. You know, call that person and say, hey, I'm here, I just bought the bus ticket, I'm on my way. Cool. So I did have a cell phone, not a smartphone, but I had a cell phone. And I had done things that were supposed to make the phone work in Japan, but my phone wasn't working. So that was okay actually, because I felt really scared, but the person from my company was actually following the information about my flight. So he knew that I was close to landing, and he kind of made some calculations and thought that I would arrive at a certain time. So actually when I got off the bus, the person was there. So that actually went smoothly. I can't complain about it. But later on, I was taken to the apartment where I was going to share with other co-workers, and I was given a phone, that of course had a Japanese SIM card, so it only worked there. But the point about the phone was I was terrified of that phone. The reason that I was so scared of that phone was because it felt overwhelming to receive instructions over the phone. Think with me. When you're talking to someone face to face, you can read the mouth, because you can see the way that the mouth is moving, and you can also read expressions, if the person is smiling or the person's angry, serious. And over the phone, you can't see any of those things. So you have to pay attention to be able to understand. And I believed I could understand, because I could. I mean, I spoke English, but it feels different when you're out in the world and, well, your job depends on it. So as time passed, I wasn't fired. Good. But as time passed, things got so much easier that when I look back at it now, I can't believe that I was so scared of something that now seems so simple. Like, I keep thinking, how was I afraid of the phone, of having a conversation over the phone? So these days you can actually practice, because you can, especially with a friend, you can practice conversation and don't use the camera, for example. You can call each other, or maybe you can send voice notes, so that you are able to understand and have a conversation without all the other things that can help you, right? As I said, as reading the expression. But of course, let's be real. It didn't happen overnight. Especially feeling confident to talk over the phone, it didn't happen overnight. And I also wouldn't say that it happened because I was in a different country. It happened because I made an effort. I decided that I wanted to be good at it. I wanted to become better. So I think the most important thing was that I started to really pay attention. So 2 of my co-workers were girls that came from English-speaking countries. So one girl was British and the other one was Canadian. So I really paid attention to how they pronounced the words, or maybe expressions, slang that I had never heard before. And I actually have some stories about that, because once in a while I would hear an expression that I had never heard before because it was slang. And once I actually tried to copy it, use it in a different situation, because I thought I had heard the expression correctly, but I didn't. So I ended up saying something completely different, but that's okay because that's how you learn. But I really paid attention. You know, I wanted to make sure that when I finished my contract in Japan, that I could feel confident, that I could say, yes, I can speak English, I understand. So it's an effort, like everything else that we decide to do in life, it's an effort, it takes the effort. And when I look back at the way I was feeling at the time, the fears that I spoke about, the fear of not being able to communicate, or especially the fear of not being able to talk over the phone, all those problems, they seem like small problems, like teeny tiny problems, because of course that with practice you become confident. I think that this is not just about English, but whatever you choose to study, whenever you actually practice, you know, you're not just studying it once or twice a week, but you bring whatever it is that you're studying into your life. So you practice it every day. Like English, you can think in English. Like let's say you are making a mental list. I don't know if you do those, but I do it a lot. So you can make your list in English, or maybe you keep a diary, or maybe whatever it is, small notes, something that you had to write down, or maybe you have a friend that you can practice with, that you could exchange voice notes in English. It's amazing how it really improves everything when you start to practice every day. So if you want to become better at something, and remember, we are not talking about perfection. Let's keep it real, right? Let's keep it real. So you want to become better, not perfect. So you have to practice every day, because I really don't think that being outside of Brazil was the secret to becoming fluent. I think it was the fact that I really wanted to become better. So practicing and paying attention and making an effort was the most special thing that I could have done for myself and for my English. So if you are learning English and I could give you only one advice, I would say practice. Really practice, and practice outside of your comfort zone. Don't just think to yourself. Practicing in front of a mirror, for example, is great. But if you have the opportunity to talk to someone else, do it. Step outside your comfort zone and do it. It's going to feel extremely scary. It's going to be terrifying the first few times that you do it. But after a while, you lose that fear. You know, so if you say a mistake, or if you use the wrong kind of grammar, or you pronounce something in the wrong way, it's not going to be the worst problem in the world, because you are becoming better. And when you make, especially a big mistake, you are not going to do it again, because it kind of imprints on your brain. And the next time that you are about to say that mistake again, I'm sure you are going to remember. So really, step outside your comfort zone. I'm saying this because I'm doing it too. So it's the best way and probably the best decision you can make for yourself.